As ever, Meghan Markle is spewing more lies, in my opinion, when it comes to her brand. As ever, we have had the second launch, and guys, there are so many issues here. It's really hard to fathom in so many ways, and it's become entirely clear that despite Meghan Markle's proclamations to the contrary, she has no desire to actually stock her brand correctly. She wants to constantly have this cycle where everybody thinks her stuff is so popular, it sells out within minutes. However, the reality remains that for true business owners, she is either incompetent, a fool, or merely just trying to artificially generate buzz about her brand. And we are already seeing Meghan have a bit of a meltdown this time, as stuff does not sell out in minutes, but instead hours. And Meghan Markle has a chance to be clear about the direction she wants her brand to go in, but she continues to sidestep it. And this is so important to discuss. And so we are going to get into all this. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I do provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys would like to hit that subscribe button, I would love to have you back. And we usually have a Saturday morning live stream, but there will be no live stream this Saturday. So that'll be June 21st, just in case you all were wondering. And just a little bit on the Crown Report. Of course, we had Royal Ascot today, and it'll be wrapping up this weekend, but we have so many great looks. So be on the lookout for a Royal Fashion News, which is a sister channel to this channel, a breakdown of all the Royal Ascot looks. But let's go ahead and move on. So yes, we're being a bit brief on the Crown Report the last couple of days, but I traveled to Trooping the Color last weekend, so I'm still recovering a bit, and I just want to get through a couple of videos. So we have a lot of stock of great things for you guys this weekend and talk about as ever. As ever, guys, this thing is just a mess. It's filled with lies, misinformation, very, very shoddy management, and it's just an epic train wreck. There is no two bones about it. And even Meghan Markle knows this did not perform as well as last time, because Meghan Markle actually did something quite shocking, which we'll get into, which is that she actually tried to shill the flower sprinkles because the flower sprinkles weren't selling. Meghan only seems to do that kind of thing, like directly shilling something when something's not going well. So I think we have an indication from Meghan overall that this obviously did not perform as well. Yes, the honey sold out within a couple of minutes. Most of the rest of the stuff sold out within about an hour or two, but it took until like 3 p.m. Eastern time, so 4+ hours for quote unquote everything to sell out. And this is a gigantic red flag. It's a huge red flag. And the reason is that Meghan has told us again and again, oh, I've done more research. I got the better manufacturer. So we'll have more product and we won't sell out all the time. And yet somehow we have sold out again. Now, in the initial launch, you could always say that, well, we just didn't anticipate. And I could believe that. The second time around, no. You are deliberately producing a low quantity so you can get the artificial result. It's a shortcut for success. And we've seen Meghan do this over and over and over again, especially when it comes to PR. Her entire pre-royal career was basically paying PR companies up the wazoo to promote her and her not actually doing the work behind the scenes. And you get to this sort of artificial inflation. And when push comes to shove, though, the real numbers behind the scenes just don't always add up. And that's why Meghan could not get more roles, wasn't really making and having any traction, you could say, within the philanthropic world or anything, because she really wasn't doing the work. She was just a figurehead. And we see this reflected here in a lot of ways, because looking at the stalking issue, and let's check out and look at what she offered this time. So we had a new screen, and I will refresh this, guys, because number one, it won't do it now. But sometimes when you initially went there, it would like write out as ever, and would take so long to get to like actually purchasing something. That's actually really, really bad website management. Meghan Markle, again, we've seen this endlessly, has created websites that are looking good, but don't function like they should, because it's more about the aesthetic and less about functionality. Websites should always be about functionality. Yes, they need to look good, but the less functional you are, the less people are likely to click on your stuff. So we have Meghan in a garden trying to get to a tree, I guess, to pick things, which we know she doesn't do. This is just dumb. And then the big announcement for this time is apricot spread. Ugh. For somebody who spent so much time talking about strawberries, I feel like this is a time for strawberries, and that she's still like not getting to the strawberries is very weird. And I have to point out that she keeps calling her stuff jam when it's clearly spread. That's really problematic because it tells me that as a business owner, she doesn't know her own products well. If it's spread, explain what spread is. Explain how to use spread. We do got some interesting things there. So we got shop here. Oh, all sold out, guys. And she's still doing the keepsake packaging. I don't understand. But you get here, and it actually has a salad pictured. And it says layers of comfort, golden toast, salted butter, generous spoonfuls of apricot spread, nothing more needed. Well, I need to know if it's good, Meghan. I need to know that you actually used it because the shocking thing is we haven't seen ever Meghan use this. We haven't seen her ever talk about apricots. And this again shows the disconnect. There's a huge disconnect between Meghan's actually what she wants and actually doing and what she's trying to sell. And this actually took a while. So this one sold out earlier, but just the general apricot one took a while to sell out. And I don't think she ever actually explained, oh, and try pairing it with prosciutto brushed on grilled fruit or whisked into a citrusy salad dressing. But where's the recipe, Meghan? Where's the recipe? How am I supposed to get into that if I don't know the recipe? Like, that looks pretty, I guess. There's flowers in it, though. What is with her obsession with flowers? It's so weird. Oh my goodness. And so, it's a beautiful stone fruit and it gets to shine, spoon it over yogurt, swipe it into toast or nestle it in a cake. Beautifully packaged in our signature glass jar with our emblematic gold lid. This delightful addition to your home is presented in a keepsake packaging that is crafted to look beautiful on any counter or kitchen shelf. Oh, so you can't put love notes in it? Yeah, Meghan, I know that. Why? Because I have yours and it's too shallow in the bottom to really do anything with it. And why in the world would I display this? It's pointless. It's useless. Like, this is stupid. If you're going to do something like this, actually get something that's useful to other human beings because this thing is not in any way useful. The honey sold out first. And so she did mention honey in the thing, but she's also showing raspberry here. I don't know why she didn't go with apricots. And this is orange blossom and said the other one was wildflower. The teas sold out actually fairly early. I don't think she ever even offered the raspberry spread again. But it took a while for the flower sprinkles and these 3 items to sell out. And they didn't sell out until sometime around 3-ish or after 3. And you could say that's a bit surprising. And I do want to mention one thing else before we talk about the very important issue here of what Meghan is actually saying and what I think is actually happening behind the scenes, because I 100% think Meghan Markle is lying about a lot of stuff. So I did want to point out, especially when it comes to the As Ever Instagram, which is horribly managed, she is showing a picture of herself like this. This to me, she says no more sleeps. Are we 5, Meghan? Are we your children? Because I think that's cute to say to kids. I think it's kind of dumb to say to adults. But I look at this picture and she's trying to sell whimsy. Meghan Markle is not whimsical. I've never, ever felt a moment where Meghan Markle has a sense of whimsy. She, to me, seems kind of harsh and unwielding. King Charles even called her tungsten. She needs to go more in that direction, but she's stuck with As Ever as the name because she couldn't figure out anything else and it was sort of the backup name. And so she's stuck with this whimsical idea of the brand. But to be honest, it doesn't match her. And this, to me, seems totally fake. Now, obviously, as well, there's a comparison to Catherine, who was on a similar swing. But this is just looks so contrived, so unbelievably fake. It's sort of crazy. And we do also have these pictures as well. Looking at how tiny that honey is, guys, it might be sort of a forced perspective, but that glass can't be that big. And that honey is tiny. And none of that is appealing. That doesn't feel appealing at all. Neither does that, to be honest. None of that is appealing. And honestly, this look at, okay, I'm just looking at the composition here. Look at how poorly composed this picture is. It's horribly done. This is out of focus. It's not well in focus. The actual focus is like here when it should be here because that's perhaps the actual apricot spread. This might actually be like dried apricots from something else. This might be the actual spread here and I can't even see it. And this looks cheap, like you got a cheap fabric to throw over a table for a hot second to take a picture and manage to find some, like, these are horribly done. Horribly done. And my mom was like pointing out these are kumquats. The little ones are kumquats. They're not apricots. Those look like oranges. What does apricots look like? Yeah, they're not apricots. She's showing oranges and kumquats. She's not showing apricots. So, oh my gosh. And then this. Guys, I can't even tell you how terrible that is. I honestly do have a soft spot for these flowers. I did grow up in Southern California. We had these flowers. I sort of love them. But this too, like you're getting the sense of whimsy and that Megan's in her garden, but she's not really in her garden. You do also know that Megan is finally doing the rosé wine. We heard this forever ago. This will be ready on July 1st at 8 a.m. Pacific time. She actually learned to actually tell people what time stuff is. And there's apricots. But how is that supposed to connect to the rosé? I don't know. And again, this looks cheap. It looks unbelievably cheap. But the big, you could say, issue and thought here with this whole thing is I think that it all looks cheap. It all looks bad. I have most of her previous products, which she offered most of them. She just exchanged the apricot and exchanged the honey. So she basically offered like the same things. And it wasn't that good, and it didn't move as well as it should. And what's sort of fascinating to look at this whole thing is that it didn't go as well as Megan wanted to. I think Megan wanted it to all sell out in 30 minutes. Didn't do that. Didn't do that at all. So, what is truly going on? And she tries to do this little thing on Instagram, which was rather fascinating. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, things aren't going well. We know they're not going well because Meghan Markle had to shill the flour sprinkles at the last minute. Now, the flour sprinkles, crepe mix, and shortbread cookies were sort of the final things hanging on. It was the flour sprinkles that did go first, but it was sort of fascinating that she was all of a sudden trying to shill it. I say that because when it comes to Confessions of a Female Founder, she would post on Instagram in her stories just clips of it. The only time she ever personally got on and attempted to sell it was, you could argue, towards the end of the life of the podcast, like the second to last official episode before the bonus one with Tina. All of a sudden, she's talking about it to Instagram. And I'm like, why? Why haven't you been doing this the entire time? This is what you're supposed to do if you're a content creator, is you're supposed to tease your products and stuff. The product being content. But Megan didn't until the last minute. And why I think that is because at that point, she knew 100% the podcast had failed. She knew, she had been told the numbers are bad. Even though she's not told a lot of bad news, she was told, hey, I'm sure they approached her very gingerly because, again, Meghan Markle doesn't see failure. And so it's hard to tell her, yeah, something failed because she's too deluded to see failure, apparently, according to her interview with Emma Grede. And so they were like, Megan, can you please just like do like a little push for the podcast, like a little extra additional bit to personalize it for the audience. Megan did that, and it still didn't move the needle. And here, even though she did it, it still took about 2 hours for this flour sprinkles to finally sell out, despite her saying, oh, we are almost out. And I'm like, okay, you really were almost out. Are you relying? Nothing was really moving. Let's look at this, and I will tell you guys my theory of what I think is actually happening here. Because once again, I don't think Meghan Markle is being fully truthful with anyone. So let's start here. Actually, this is interesting. I forgot about this. So number one, 6 hours ago. So that was 11 o'clock-ish. And this is when a lot of this stuff had sold out, but these products had not. And so all of a sudden, she's like, hey, let me She only did it for these because, guys, we saw the summer drop 6 hours ago, but only did it for these. Why? Because these ones weren't selling. And so she needed to push it to actually try to get it to sell. Now, granted, this is on the as ever. And she said, our golden hued apricot spread balances a delicate sweetness and a gentle brightness that lets this beautiful stone fruit shine. And then sends a link. But I'm looking at this going, I've never seen Meghan use it. I've never seen Meghan use apricots. I've never seen this featured at all. At least when it came to the initial launch, I think there was more interest because Meghan Markle was showing the products. Here, she didn't show them until the last minute. And she just exchanged raspberry spread for apricot spread. And still in a cheap, small little bottle. There's not that much. And the raspberry spread was pretty crappy. And I imagine this was too. And then flower sprinkles, a blend of tiny, vibrant, edible flower petals that forgot to pause it, as confetti for your plating. $15 a pop for this, guys. It's insane. And then we have the shortbread cookies, delicious cookies that includes a packet of as ever signature flower sprinkles, creates a delicate treat for an extra dash of beauty. And then finally, the crepe mix. Inspired by the delicate crepes found in Parisian cafes, our mix brings a touch of everyday elegance into your home. So why those 4 products? Why not the teas? Why not the honey? Why not the keepsake packaging? Because those things had already sold out and these things hadn't. And Meghan Markle is trying to salvage stuff by getting the rest to sell. However, she again is revealing a lot of things here that should not be happening. And I think is a disservice to the audience by essentially, or her customers, by essentially not being truthful about the direction her brand is going in. And so we have this shot, which is a little ridiculous, Meghan in the corner here. These aren't, yes, orange blossom was the inspiration for the honey, or the honey that's supposed to get. I'm going to go to like a big yard sale thing tomorrow. Hopefully I find some actual local honey. That would be awesome. But then we have lemons here, oranges here, a gin and tonic. None of this connects. None of this connects at all to what she's attempting to sell. Like, why do you love apricots, Meghan? Why apricots? Why did you choose apricots? Why didn't you go with strawberries? That was your favorite. And then we get to this thing. This is the most important bit. And I liked how somebody posted, I think it was Berkshire to Buckingham, said, why does Meghan keep doing videos where she's focusing on basically her boobs? Because she keeps cutting off the top of her head. It's like, does she not know how to use her phone? So real quick here, we're going to restart it. I'm going to take off the mute and we're going to listen to this because this is critical. This was 5 hours ago. So this was after she posted those links. All of a sudden, she's going on about flower sprinkles. So hold on one second. And then
we spent so much time making sure we had so much more inventory.
You literally can't see her eyes. What is this? This is so weird. And she's like, we worked so hard. I'm going to argue she didn't. Or again, we have a different strategy going on here that Meghan Markle is not admitting to. So let's keep going.
That's why we took the time and you guys are doing it again.
She's totally lying. She's completely lying. 100%. I'm sorry. I believe 100% she's lying here. She's not doing the research, or she's deliberately ignoring it and doing deliberately small batches. That is the only explanation for this. And again, I'll tell you why I think that is.
Again, we're nearly sold out on everything.
She's kind of, though, looks like she's kind of sad. We've almost sold out on everything, but not everything sold out in 45 minutes like last time.
And I can't believe it. Even flower sprinkles, which I knew was going to be the big one again. So that has more inventory than all of it.
Why? Do you have any metrics that shows everybody's interested in flower sprinkles? Because actually, what we saw today is that the flower sprinkles are not moving. And that's sort of one of her signature products here, is the flower sprinkles. And it didn't move. That's a big problem. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that it was the most stocked. Or if it was, that there was even that much stock to begin with. And I think there's a big thing we can read into those last 3 products not moving.
And that's also about to sell out.
Why is she focusing on her boobs? Does she not know how to use a freaking phone? This is so weird.
So I was looking at my iMessage and I thought, okay, I love this feature.
This is so incredibly dumb and desperate. This is sheer ridiculousness. Sheer ridiculousness. And so you can actually say she She recorded it at 8:42, and that's not when she put it up. So she put it up a couple hours later. So she was doing this hoping that maybe things were moving faster or something, and this was sort of a fail safe, you could say.
Sure, and I never thought of it
Select effect.
like, is it confetti or is it flower sprinkles?
It's confetti, Meghan Markle. We are not stupid. We are not stupid. What the heck does she think she's doing? This is utterly idiotic. This is utterly idiotic. It's so stupid.
Thanks, everybody.
And guys, something I completely and utterly missed when I was recording this is that she filmed this thing at 8:40 something in the morning AM. So that was just 40 minutes into the launch. If she's recording that right then, I believe that the flower sprinkles were not moving at all and they were starting to really freak out. So you have this moment. Let me go back and actually look and see at what time she recorded this. It was recorded at 8:42. She, I think, recorded this in part because she was watching that clock, and that's the moment it sold out initially last time, and it didn't sell out this time, and especially the flower sprinkles were not moving. The metric was not moving on those in the slightest because it took them hours more to sell out. So her going on there and going, "Oh my gosh, we're almost sold out." We know that's complete hogwash. It was complete and utter hogwash in that moment. She was picking the product that was struggling the most to try to get people to buy it. Wild when you think about it. And one last thing I wanted to mention too, when you watch that video, it's so amazing to see her not look at the camera at all and cut off like the whole top of her head where you can't even see her eyes. To me, actually, this means that I think Meghan was pretty emotional about it not doing too well, and this was entirely a freak out video. This was a desperate attempt to try to kind of get things moving, and she was completely and utterly freaking out. And I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason, again, that she cut off the top of her head to hide her eyes is to hide the fact that maybe she was crying or something. That's just my theory. I mean, you did see her eyes a little bit in there, but she worked really hard to cut off her head, and she should know how to use a phone. So if she was deliberately hiding her eyes, there was a reason for that. Cheers to the weekend. And a product, like why, I don't understand totally even why she wouldn't make the wine available now. Why wait until July 1st? Because then you have two separate products. Like, I don't understand. So looking at all those things together, I should have done maybe my intro a bit differently, but here's what I truly think is going on behind the scenes here. And I don't think there's actually necessarily anything wrong with it, but Meghan Markle, as ever, is not being transparent, not being truthful with her customer base in the slightest. So here's what I think is going on. Meghan Markle has not increased production. If she has, it's at, let's say, 5%. Because if you had all the resources in the world and Netflix has billions of dollars to throw at this, if you were truly interested in having everything be available in stock all the time, that is achievable. That is 150% achievable. If you're not deliberately doing that, you're either incompetent, you are either like a fool, you're an idiot, you just don't know even how to count and manage and do those sorts of things. I mean, I guess incompetent and idiocy and foolishness kind of go hand in hand, but I see them a little bit differently. Or I think she's, as ever, being deliberately deceptive in how this business is being run. And I don't understand why she would do that. Just say, this is all she needs to say, and I think all the questions cease. Okay. So the way I've designed this brand, this would be me talking as Meghan Markle if I had a brand like this. I'm deliberately designing this brand so every launch is sort of a small batch of products. So every time I launch, there'll be a limited supply. And so if you don't get them then, they go away. That does increase interest. That does increase, let's say, products. And the question is too, I mean, it might be entirely possible that Meghan can't make big batches with this stuff. But I sort of kind of doubt it. And so I almost don't think that's an option because if Meghan Markle went into Shark Tank and they kept asking her, which they would, why aren't you refilling and restocking fast enough? Because one of the big things is that sometimes people come in there and go, I have all these orders, but I don't have enough money to fill my stock room to sell. And they're like, okay, we can fix that. We can fix that. If you have orders, if you have people interested, if you have, let's say, companies on the line and everything, and you need more capital to make more products, that can be achievable. So if Megan doesn't have that, there's just no way by any stretch of the imagination that she is not making microscopic batches and not being truthful about it. She went on and said, "Oh, we had to reevaluate to make sure everybody could get what they want." Well, you clearly didn't. You're clearly lying. And, her going, "Oh, we did so much research." Sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of her voice, but I'm like, just it's hard for me to fathom somebody who lies that much. I mean, that's just, ladies and gentlemen, flat out lying to you. There are 150% ways to ensure that everything is stockpiled up. So no matter what time of day, what's going on, whatever, stuff is getting done. And if it's not, there's a huge problem. There's a huge problem somewhere. There's just no way to avoid that. There is something going on that she's not being truthful about. And I don't understand why. Why not be just clear about the structure of your business? There's nothing wrong with that. We even saw it in the Emma Grede interview that Megan would just meander around the questions. It's like, just be truthful. How's your business set up? She wouldn't answer that. How is your partnership with Netflix? Megan really didn't answer that. Like, there are so many questions that are just, I think, basic questions that investors would ask that Megan sidesteps. And I think here, there's nothing wrong with having limited seasonal batches, but I don't even get the sense that that's her business, and that's not really what she's marketing as. And she should have, if she's going to do it that way, have some staples. So I just still happen to have the hibiscus tea on my desk. I don't know why. So, anyways, this is I only actually ever drank it one time. So I do want to do like a taste test with all the teas, just in case people are curious. But if this tea is going to be a core part of your business, this should always be in stock. There's literally zero excuse to not have this in stock every single time, every single day, except for some exceptions. There's no excuse for that. You should have this in stock every single day. If you don't, that means you're deliberately not keeping this in stock. Because there's tons of tea places all over the world. And there cannot be anything in here that Meghan Markle can't source easily. I just firmly don't believe that's the case. And beyond this, obviously, I think she's being sort of deceptive in the practices. I think she's not being clear about what the actual structure of the company is. But what's also very interesting, and I would argue concerning for Meghan right now, she should be a little bit concerned. And I'm sure she wanted everything to sell out in 30 minutes and get more and more impressive. But I will say, before I get to this next point, that when it comes to sort of businesses selling out of things, like I understand makeup selling out like this. I understand Nikes selling out like this, like Air Jordans. I don't understand this stuff selling out. I just don't think it has a broad appeal. And I don't think the audience is that big. And I think Meghan sort of knows that. And that's again why we're not getting big stocks. But the other concerning thing here, the other thing that Meghan should be probably pretty worried about is that when it comes to the flour sprinkles, the crepe mix, and the shortbread cookies, those took a couple more hours to sell out than the other things. And they were longer to sell out last time. And I have a theory. And it's one that I'm sure terrifies Meghan, which is that the initial batch of people who ordered from her brand did not reorder. That is my theory. Because when it comes to the shortbread cookie mix, it's a one and done deal. You use that bag one time. I actually chopped mine up into different batches and then scaled and adjusted the measurements of items based on that. But that Meghan didn't get more orders of that tells me that the people who ordered it before probably did not reorder. Same thing with the crepe mix. People ordered the first time, and it's only actually technically, I think, 2 batches maybe? They didn't order again. And flour sprinkles, the same. And she made such a big fuss about flour sprinkles, and people were not running to buy that. There's a breakdown in the brand here. Meghan Markle is not the great success she would like people to believe that she is. There are already fractures happening with this brand. And honestly, I don't know that much about wine, to be quite honest, but her rosé looked very clear. It didn't look like it had a great color. And I know that's not everything with some wines, but a lot of wines it is. So I'm fascinated to see if her wine is good. I might do a wine review because, guys, actually, you might remember, like, I did an Avalaine. I bought numerous rosé wines last year to like compare to Megan's rosé wine whenever it came out. Of course, that was like, I think that was teased in the summer. It never happened. But given that I have all those wines, I may as well do a wine tasting, even though I don't really like wine. So we might do that with the wine because I am a bit curious about that one. But the rest of the stuff, like, I already tried her raspberry spread and it wasn't very good. And that also struggled to move. That struggled to move. And part of it as well is that Meghan was not advertising stuff. She really wasn't explaining. I had no clue what she was going to offer until it kind of all of a sudden came out. And it's like, why not be clearer? Why not actually advertise? I don't give a crap about you swinging on a swing. That means nothing to me. How is that going to encourage me or anyone else really to buy apricot spread? It's not. And there is a way to have those type of images mixed in with your actual products. But Meghan didn't mix it in with actual products. She hasn't told us anything about the products. She hasn't even sent a newsletter. She did the same thing this time, where the email telling us that the stuff was live on the website went out at 8:13 or 11:13 here, East Coast time. And last time it went out 15 minutes after the launch too. And so if you're waiting on the email, it doesn't matter. You don't get it. There's no newsletter, just by her talking about, I look at every newsletter. Well, where's the newsletters, Meghan? They're not here. So there's a lot of problems with this brand. And I think a lot of reasons for Meghan to be very, very worried about the future of As Ever. And I think she's already panicking a little bit. Meghan doesn't go on and actually really try to sell something until things start to get dire. And I think things were getting dire because maybe she restocked, but I really honestly don't think, guys, she is moving beyond, let's say, the thousands of units, and that includes everything. And I'm just talking about less than 10,000. She's not stocking, let's say, in the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, like she should if she really wants this brand to be successful. If she really doesn't want people to be waiting. And if there is a holdup in production, if there's a reason why she can't stock like she should, she needs to be clear. If not, yet again, as ever, Meghan is deliberately trying to use a scarcity tactic to make up for a failing concept and brand. That's the only way you can look at that. Because any competent business person, even Emma, was like, I don't really struggle with sold out issues after an initial launch. If Meghan's continuing to have those issues, doesn't look good on her. Doesn't look like she's stocking correctly. Doesn't look like she's managing the company correctly. I think you can do that once and sort of get away with it, but doing it twice, that's very, very deliberate. And Meghan is not being clear with people about that. And I think that's very much, as ever, means that Meghan is more comfortable, I think, with lies than the truth. And that's just my very personal, humble opinion. But guys, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Bye.